Hey guys, welcome back to Stanley Boy Reviews. I'm your host, Stanley. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me and to talk about your favorite horror films and my favorite horror films. If you can't tell by the t-shirt, we are going to take things back to the beginning of Stanley Boy Reviews. If you don't remember, we talked about Pet Sematary in my first review. The first movie I'm going to be reviewing is going to be Pet Sematary. And we are going to talk about Pet Sematary again, but not the first one. We are going to talk about the remake, which came out around 3 years ago this week. So we are celebrating the anniversary. And before we get into it, please take the time to subscribe. I'm not going to tell you why. You just should at this point. Be a subscriber. Click the button. Be part of the cool crowd. Go take a seat. I'm going to have a seat. Go grab a shovel. Let's talk about Pet Sematary.
I'm going to twist your back like mine, so you'll never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again! Never get out of bed again!
I can't believe that my first video was January 1st. Like, I've been doing this for 3 months. This is my 15th video, which is another milestone. My chair is breaking as I talk. Yay! We're on my 15th video. So we're back to the burial ground, you guys. I remember when the news came out that there was going to be a reboot. And when I first heard about this, it was way back in like 2010. It was rumored that it was Matt Greenberg that was going to be hired to write it. And Matt Greenberg is the guy that is behind rewrites of movies like Children of the Corn 3 and Mimic and The Prophecy 2 and like all these Dimension movies. But he was never even credited in those films. And he eventually did a rewrite on Halloween H2O. He ended up getting a credit in this film as doing the screen story. In 2013, the guy that directed 28 Days Later, Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, was approached to direct it. At one point, the directors of the It reboot, Barbara and Andy Muschietti, they were in talks to direct it. And in 2017, 7 years after it was announced that this movie was going to go in production, Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmyer, who had directed the movie Starry Eyes, which is a really, really good movie that I actually really, really love, they ended up getting attached to direct it. A guy named Jeff Bueller would end up writing. Matt Greenberg would get that story credit. It would film throughout the summer of 2018. It would wrap in early August, and we would get our first trailer in October. Now, the trailer had me up. I remember when this trailer first came out, I was up in arms. I would stay up late. I would be hitting pause. I would be hitting stop. I would be hitting screenshot on my phone, just trying to overanalyze it, trying to put pieces together. I was having panic attacks. There was rumors that they were going to be flipping the script. There was rumors that it was going to be, spoiler alert, Ellie getting the roadkill treatment and not Gage, and that it was going to have some different third act shenanigans. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't think that they were actually going to like do anything that big. I had also heard that they weren't going to be including any Zelda stuff. Then they revealed the fact that they switched shit up. It was no longer Gage who dies on the road. It would be Ellie, the oldest Creed child, to be the one that is buried in the Pet Sematary and subsequently comes back to life as the murderous zombie child.
Daddy.
So I was a little scared, a little apprehensive, and a little disappointed, but also excited at the same time because I was curious on how they were going to execute this. Pet Sematary is, as I've mentioned, probably my favorite horror film ever made for a number of reasons. And I just wasn't sure how they were going to handle any of this. All this new stuff being thrown my way was very, very scary for me as a fan. And then I found out that Stephen King was on board with this. And Stephen King tweeted, and then all my hopes were restored. I saw the movie on opening night. It went to some pretty dark and disturbing places. For the first half of the movie, it is a retelling of Pet Sematary. It is the same plot. It is the same devices. It's the same characters. They kind of remove a few things here and there, and they kind of switch some things up. But after the first hour, everything gets flipped on its head. There were some times where I thought that I was watching a completely different film. And it worked. It worked for me. If you need a plot rehash, I guess just press pause, go back to my very first review, shameless plug. But what I will say is everything changes come the halfway point. After Ellie comes back to life, things just kind of go ape shit. And that's the difference between 1989's Pet Sematary and 2019's Pet Sematary. In 1989's Pet Sematary, after Gage comes back to life, he just kind of goes on a rampage, kills Rachel, kills Judd, and is put back to rest by Lewis. And then Lewis is killed by zombie Rachel. The movie ends, and that's it. It's a very tragic, very depressing, very sad movie. And it kind of leaves you in an unsettled state. With Pet Sematary 2019, after Ellie comes back to life, Lewis has this idea that he is going to kind of put his family back together.
Hug your daughter.
And it's a little bonkers and so out there and so far-fetched, but it takes itself seriously and it makes it so entertaining. And just hearing Ellie talk to her mother and hearing the things that she says.
You prayed your sister would die.
I had a lot of fun watching Jete Laurence just go off the wall with her interpretation of Ellie and the things that this little girl had to do. Whew. I really enjoyed Amy Seimetz's Rachel Creed a little bit more than I enjoyed Denise Crosby. They gave her a lot more to do, and her version of Rachel just kind of pulled at my heart a little bit more. The pacing of this particular version was very quick. Like, this movie starts and then it's just, it doesn't stop. There's not a lot of time to be with this family.
Like, the cat dies, the daughter dies.
This is happening. Like the Zelda stuff, for instance. That was the big schlock factor of the original, and that's what scared a lot of viewers, was the Zelda stuff. Me, personally. They did it right by casting a little girl. They used like a 13, 12-year-old girl, but they underutilized it. They underplayed the Zelda storyline so much. It just wasn't very effective this time around. Like, the makeup and the effects were good. They left everything else on the cutting room floor. Like, I have the Blu-ray, and there's some deleted scenes, and the deleted scenes are so good. And had they left all of that in the movie, it would have been a really effective storyline, and it would have played out a lot better. They decided to take it out for one reason or another, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know, because that's kind of where the movie lost me. As a fan of the book, I did appreciate the fact that they utilized in the book a lot of what happens with Gage. They gave that to Ellie's character in this version.
Hello, Judd. You're sweet Norma. She's burning down in hell for what you did to her.
And it works better, I think, with Ellie doing it as opposed to Gage doing it. With the effects that we have these days, and with a little girl who understands and knows how to act, I guess. And Jete Laurence is a really good actress. Like, this little girl did very well. So I really appreciated a lot of the nods from the book that they were able to implement into this movie. There were some things that I wish we could have spent a little bit more time on. I think that the ending, as much as I enjoyed it and as dark and weird and fun as it was, I prefer the ending that is the alternate ending that is available on the Blu-ray. I think it is a little bit more darker and more in tune with the book and more in tune with the original film, and I think it worked a lot better. I need to also mention that this movie had a budget of $21 million and raked in $113 million, so that's pretty phenomenal for a little remake like this. Like, I understand that the It movies made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, but Pet Sematary was a little sleeper of a film back in 1989 when it came out, and so the fact that this remake that didn't even really need to happen in the first place made as much money as it did. I really love that. On Stanley's Stab-O-Meter, I give this a solid 3.5 stabs. And it would have been more had the Zelda storyline been utilized to its fullest advantage. I think the directors could have done a lot more with that, and had they used the deleted scenes in the film completely and just left them there, this could have been a damn near perfect film. It's like there were certain things that were blatantly ignored that didn't have to be ignored. So, do I prefer the original? Absolutely. Do I even prefer Pet Sematary 2 over this? Absolutely. Do I like this movie though? I really do. This is probably one of the better remakes that have come out in the last however many years. They did a lot right, but there was also a few things that they did wrong. That's that. What did you think about Pet Sematary 2019? If you've seen it, leave a comment. If you liked it, leave a comment. You know what to do. In the meantime, stay safe, you guys. Have a really good week. Take care. I'll see you soon.